Good morning. My name is Stephen A. Carr. Um, I am the I am the founder of Soul Heroes. Um, and what I'm going to do is speak on the beginning journey of it. And later on, I'll do another talk of what we went through, the media that we created, and where it has gotten us, you know, at that point. And then I'll do another one on where we are currently. I've been at this for not 24, 26, 28. So I've been at this off and on for 28 years. Um, a lot of it was conceptual, and I had to learn on the fly how to begin the process of developing an idea that would be more than just a video game, but the idea was the video game. It's kind of morphed on since then. Um, the idea came from my experiences in life, uh, what I watched, what I was exposed to, um, and some of the things I stayed away from. So uh, as I got older, I had a family and I had a son that was born with autism. And he became, after doing the analysis on him and, you know, people telling me what they see for him, the one thing that they said that was constant was that we would have to take care of him for the rest of his life. He could not live on his own at any point. So that was a part of my mission. My mission was to develop a project that people can consume and ultimately give my son a better life and my family, you know. But he was the firstborn. And so in Soul Heroes, originally it was called Soul Brothers. And then I thought about it. I said, well, you really can't call sisters brothers. So I just said heroes. And so it's an acronym for Soldiers of the Universal Lord. And, to be a soldier is to be a part of an army. And so, I come from unique stock. My father is or was retired Army during the Vietnam era. My grandfather was a Marine um, during the Korea, around close to the end of maybe World War II, going maybe into the Korean War. Uh, I have many soldiers in my family who are now retired. And so being around that and having that influence in my life, and then later on meeting uh, Brother Carlos Muhammad and in the mosque, and then learning that his father was, a sergeant major, you know, um, and him coming around and being in my life. That whole soldiering part has been a part of me for so long. Um, Even in the word soul, we are beings that have a special entity that resides in us that defines who we are. And so going on further into it, it became a process of standing up for the people who need standing up for. And again, I grew up in the 70s. And so in the 70s, we were coming out of the Black Power movement. And so empowering Black people or people of color no matter where you come from on the planet, was really big and a big influence in my life. Um, Finding out how to um, take that experience and put it into a product that tells people to continue to fight for yourself, stand up for yourself, believe in yourself, do for yourself, empower yourself. And so, you know, that was a part of it. And that seems a little long winded, but it's a part of it. And I will say that I was influenced by Bruce Lee for sure, Muhammad Ali, um, Bill Cosby, Bill Cosby and the Kids. I think that was the most brilliant form of media to talk to us. And then there were shows like What's Happening and Good Times and so on, and Carol Burnett. And so I have a lot of things I pull from, that kind of define me. And Soul Heroes for me um, started becoming a thing when I started taking martial arts lessons. I wanted to be kind of like Bruce Lee. I wanted to develop some skills kind of like Bruce Lee if I could. Then understanding that Bruce Lee studied different arts and then called it Jeet Kune Do, the art of the intercepting fist. And I was like, man, I could kind of create that for um, a video game, if you will. So I started taking lessons, and I felt that in taking lessons, it would give me a different insight on game development, how to develop the animations that would be cool to the eye, and hopefully at some point give the user the ability to actually control those movements in some way. And so when I studied under Abbas Yassin, peace and blessings to him. And Abbas took me around some of the greats in martial arts. And I was blessed enough to meet Dr. Moses Powell in Chicago through Grandmaster Anthony Muhammad, who was a student of Dr. Moses Powell. Dr. Moses Powell was known as one of the foremost, deadliest men in the world at the time he was living. Um, and how they got there, I don't know. But experiencing him and being around him and talking to him, um, I quickly understood why they would say that and some of the things that he was able to show and teach gracefully and humbly. The doctor, peace be upon him, again, allowed me to talk to him. He knew me from Adam. He knew my teacher, and so I said, I would love to use or put some of your moves in a martial art game. And he looked at me and he was like, really? And I'm like, yeah, it's fantastic. So, he told me to walk with him, and that was very, very cool. And as we were talking, he was saying, hey, I want you, here's my number, call my wife when you're ready, and we'll put something together. Unfortunately, he passed away a little less than 6 months after that, maybe a little bit longer. And so I still maintain contact with Grandmaster Anthony, and we talk when we see each other. And so I had to figure out a different way to go about it, but at the same time, I had to get started. And I got started by first having to write a script. And in the second TED Talk, I will have some things to show you. I had a script, and I didn't know how to go about writing a script. So I just looked it up online, and they gave me a format of what a script looks like. And so I ended up writing the script within an hour. And so with that detail, that I wanted to see. And so I ended up sending this script to Red Eye Studios of Chicago, and they are the company that does the motion capture work for Call of Duty. But at the time, I don't think I think they produced some games out of Red Eye. So I sent it to them. I get a call back, and the guy asked me, did you really write this script? Did you have somebody help you with this? Or I'm like, no, I wrote it in an hour. I was at work and I wrote it out and I was doing the moves in the chair based on what I wanted to see within the scene itself. And so he told me that my script writing skills at that moment in time was worth about 1.5 million to $3 million. And I'm like, what? You about to wait a minute? You about to pay me that kind of loot? And we're not. Um, but just to let you know that your script writing skills are that formidable, and you just go, wow. So, I have a friend that has that has a wife that's from the Philippines, and he travels back and forth from throughout the year, and so he went down there, met a couple or talked to a couple people, and I sent him my script, and they put together a simulation of one scene. And it's a 5 scene script, but they put together one scene, and the scene is um, called Professor Unknown. A menace on the I want to say the on the train. I can't remember what specific name or title, but he's fighting. Like 3 guys come up, and they kind of checking him out. They're thinking about robbing this cat, and he's minding his business. And so the professor, being who he is, read their thoughts and knew that they were going to attack, and he was formulating his attack plan. And so they attacked, and he did the things I was doing in the chair, and then he hits the guy in the throat, and the X-rays and shows the throat being struck, and so That ends the video. And during that time, I met some people. I went to a game conference, and I was still studying. I was probably about a year in studying with Master Abbas, about a year and a half, something like that. And a friend of mine, Derek Johnson, who has been there since the beginning, took me to a game conference down in Chicago. And the Chicago uh, conference had EA Games, Midway, and a couple other small independent companies. And so we go in, kind of like how I'm dressed right now, blazer, I had jeans on then, but everybody else was kind of in t-shirts and jeans and whatnot. So we kind of stood out, but didn't try to. So the keynote speaker, his name was Kudo Sonoda. And Kudo is known for or developing or designing Fight Night. And those who play video games know that Fight Night is a fantastic boxing game. And so as I was doing my thing, writing notes and stuff, and how he developed Fight Night, and how he put his students or his co-workers, not students, put his co-workers in boxing classes. So that means like the art department, they took boxing lessons, the sound department, animation department, all these different departments that worked under him took boxing lessons. Excuse me. Um, with that being said, I had that same concept in studying under Grandmaster Abbas, and studying with Brother Andre and other, and seeing how that direct knowledge can be applied in other places. And that's what I was doing with Soul Heroes. I was taking my experience from the mat and from the classes, from the dojo, and applying it into the game. Kudo Sonoda said the same thing. And it got so deep where he started cussing at me in the conference because I was taking notes and I'm talking to Derek and taking notes and the guy said, you probably don't know what the hell I'm talking about. I said, who in the hell is he hollering at? He said, I'm talking to you. I said, dude, I'm following you 100%. He said, oh, okay, okay. So he goes back, right? And so long story short, I create that demo, Professor Unknown, and I send it to one of the contacts I met at the conference, and he actually worked for Midway. He ended up walking that particular video across the hall to people who were working on Mortal Kombat. And one day, my mom tells me that somebody stole my idea, and I'm like, nobody stole my idea. Not thinking that the people of Mortal Kombat had used that idea of the X-ray within their thing. And so, I'm saying it is out there. And, I have the email that they sent to me when I sent them the video. Fast forward, um, I'm hurt by that, but I was ready to give up. I was about done. It's around 2007. I've only kind of really been on this journey for about a little less than 7 years, about 4 or 5 years, and my efforts didn't really come up with anything other than somebody stealing my idea. And so I got a call from a friend, a son Truth, and he told me to go down to MATC because they do uh, uh, intern work and they may be able to help me. So I go down reluctantly, mind you, and I showed one of the teachers who ended up becoming the director of the game art and design department, Emil Harmson, uh, showed him some of my, wares, if you will, and I showed him the video. And he watched the video a couple times. He said, "Well, I'm gonna tell you one thing, and I'm gonna keep it clean." But he said, "We know now that you have good game design. Okay, you've proven that point. But the next thing you need to do is learn how to keep your mouth closed." And because she said people steal all the time, and it's self-evident by what they just did. Okay, so um, I ended up working with MATC a little bit, a couple separate occasions. One of them was uh, I created a Mugen game demo of a character fighting in a dojo that I had designed by the students, and Luther Hall helped me design the characters and did the animation on it. The animation style is called sprites, and sprites is a very, if you don't have the actual skill, it can be an expensive process because they have to do all the action moves on a sheet, and they constantly are going from one side to another, and it could be multiple sheets, that they need to create for animation to work. And so we did that, and it didn't really turn out well. I was quite disappointed at how it turned out, but that didn't stop. So we ended up creating another demo with another student that he could do everything. He could do the animations, he could do the keyframing, he could do the texturing, he can write the code, he could do all that stuff. And put music in it. He when he delivers a product, I would say, his name is Seth Bergman. Seth is at the time that I met him, he was probably the most complete out of all of them, and he helped give us some definition and some way of making the game better. But you know, Seth moved on, and you know, he moved to Texas, and he's doing his own thing. But I will say, if it wasn't for a son sending me down there to find out and to go on that journey, I probably would have. We wouldn't be talking about Soul Hero. So I've been doing this again for a very long time. You know, I've seen a lot of breakthroughs, and I have been able to check myself along the way and see how strong and resilient I am as it relates to it. Uh, I don't. I'm not. I used to be fearful in the process and going through it, but I have gained so much strength and determination. And you know, one in the next TED Talk, you will see my beginnings visually in you know in some of the things that we did along the way. And as I look at things, you know, I am deeply humbled and grateful for being asked to walk on this journey because you know I can tell you now there are not a whole lot of black people or people of color that actually do this. And so, but there are some, and I've met some, but it's not a guga of amount. You have to really endure and overcome the inner monologue that goes on that could be saying that you can't do this and you're wasting your time. You have to conquer that. You have to conquer all of that, and you have to be resolute and stand on it and take the bad with the good, you know, and remember, you know, too, it's not everyone's mission, you know, and it's bigger than me. It's way bigger than me. Um, but you have to be resolute. You have to be determined, and you have to uh, overcome yourself too, because it'll things will creep up, and you will just succumb to it if you're weak. And I don't believe I'm weak, um, but it is one of those things that if you're passionate about, you should just ride that passion and not allow anyone to sway you one way or another. And with that being said, that will be the end of my first TED Talk, and I will bring another one soon after. Does anyone have any questions they would like to ask? The floor is open.
Yes, sir, Mr. Carr. I do have a question for you. I understand that that through your journey, it sounds like a lot of perseverance and having some of your intellectual properties stolen along the way. How did you muster on and carry on and persevere really through that? What was your mindset to get through that?
Um, Great question. Well, there's a lot. Uh, I'll say it like I'll say it this way. Um, you don't really know your enemy until you look at the enemy within, and you don't know who's really there for you until stuff hits the fan. And there have been many instances where uh, people have who say they're with you really weren't, and through time you see that. And then you look at the bigger picture. It's bigger than me. I have children, and I tell them, and I have talked with them, that this is not mine. This is yours. And, you know, again, y'all need to help make this more yours. But I'm still going to do what needs to be done. My son Naeem was one of the big things that made me want to uh, continue on, because I watched how he was able to overcome a lot of his shortcomings with having autism, and the things that he was able to prove, and prove people wrong, or or exceed their expectation. And then you go, if he's able to do that, then what am I complaining about? You know, I still, like I said, come up in an era where you know people of color don't do things like this, or they're so obscure you would never hear about them. But that, to me, that didn't even matter, because I'm creating a product or products that people can use, or that they do every day. At least nowadays, gaming is gigantic, and for them to do it, and I have something to do with that. That's what keeps me going. To see how where I started from the beginning, and see where I am now, and see how my animations have evolved throughout the years. A lot of this stuff is stockpiled animations and ideas, and keeping that, it being secure in myself, and knowing that someone's going to like it. You know what I mean? Somebody's going to say, yeah, man, I feel that right there. Or, man, that's a cold move. Where'd he get that from? Or I actually did that to this character, or, there's so many things that come to mind when you really think about it. But it's knowing that it came through me, and not, it wasn't just me doing it. And a lot of this stuff, being that vessel, you know, man, I can go on forever. It's just a lot of stuff. And, my son, for sure, he was that reason. How did you have such? I'm hoping I answered your question, Dr. Rapp. I have a lot
Dr.
of.
London, mute your phone. I'm sorry. Dr. London, mute your phone.
He's muted.
Okay. Anyone else have a question?
I have a question. With regards to this is Dr. Lee. With regards to your intellectual property being stolen, as where you are in the game right now, do you think that you are equipped with enough experience and knowledge and tools to prevent the same thing that happened back then now?
Yes. But here's the thing. Here's the thing about that particular process. I didn't create the animations, so I created the idea. The animation was done in the Philippines. I wrote the script. They took what I put down on that paper, uh, and brought it to life. You for sure know about this, because Isaiah, your son, was in a car seat when it first hit my email, right? So you've seen it, and I knew, in discussions with the school, what part I could only protect, which was the script, and I did that immediately. But even beyond that point, yes, I have learned to protect myself, trademark stuff, copyright what is copyrightable, um, in protecting what's mine. Now, we'll say, as an example, um, the movements of Kumite Rule Jiu-Jitsu. Well, those aren't mine. Now, I give credit where credit is supposed to be laid, but having that in the game, that is something that is kind of a iffy line to cross. But at the end of the day, the major pieces of it, yes, are protected. And I did learn that quickly because I almost fainted in the store when I saw it on Mortal Kombat 10. Like for real, I was like, oh my God. Mom wasn't lying. She wasn't fibbing on that. It was real. I saw it and was like, wow, that made that much of an impact. You know what I mean? But again, it came from Romeo Must Die. And Romeo Must Die when they did that within their movie, you know, it was like, man, that's hardcore. Let's see that in a video game. But I also wanted to see other things. So yes, to answer your question.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Well, if there are any more questions, um, is that somebody going to ask the question? If that's it,
Yes.
then
May I
go
ask
ahead.
the question?
Sure, go ahead, please.
More make a statement. I really liked what you say that it's not just a game, it's a way of empowering black people. And I would say it's not just empowering black people, it empowers people. My background is people of poor white people were called white trash. They're not trash. They're people
Right.
that got to face a whole lot of barriers and grow and grow and grow. And that's what I really like what you say. And also, I think about sci-fi. Sci-fi is not just stories; it's really an upside-down way of looking at the world and seeing how you can improve and keep growing.
Right. Well, I thank you for that, Brother Jackson. And I'll say this too. If I could say I am my father's son, my father tells me to do, and I go do. And this is for, I mean, if, I've met people, first of all, I was born in Japan. I've gone to high school in Florida and in Puerto Rico. I've met people from Hawaii and all over parts of the world. And those experiences and seeing and looking into their stories and their history, you go, hey, there are people in the world just like me. They may not even look like me, and they deserve protection and help and love and understanding just like me, and so why not be a mouthpiece for my father for all these people, because we're all one in the law of oneness. So why not? And it's a, I'll say it's a pretty cool job. So, people are people. That's one thing I've learned, no matter where I was in the world and what was going on at the time, just because they speak a different language, have a different color, or whatever the case may be, different religion, culture, they're still people. And they do the same thing that we all do. You know, they want to love, they want to be respected, they want to create, we can go through all of it. People want to do that. That doesn't have a color base or tie to it. So yeah, I am my father's son, and I am doing the work of my father. And my father told me to go do this. And win, lose, or draw, I'd rather side with my father and do what he's asking me to do than be on the other side and not do what he asked me to do. Just simply. Yeah.
Excellent.
So I hope that, everyone got something from it, and it's for everyone, because I look at us as soul heroes, soldiers of the universal Lord. We are being heroes to ourselves. And the word savior means save yourself first. Then you can go save others. So in that process of saving myself and doing the things that are necessary for me to be a vehicle and for my father, I have to, see it. I would love to see it in others. And I see it in in my brothers and sisters in this lodge, in this uh, way of communicating. I feel your energy, and it's beautiful. One of the things I learned is we are here to meet and overcome all obstacles in our path. All of them, not half of them, not some of them, not a couple of them, all of them. And it's a process, you know. But I thank you so very much for allowing me to speak. I hope I didn't take up a whole lot of time, but I appreciate the time that was given. Thank you.